Hello everyone, my name is Paul. Welcome to A Common Touch of Fantasy, and this is my week in review. I wasn't able to do a live one this week, so I'm putting up this recording. I apologize for that. Also, I apologize for the major glare that is on my glasses tonight because of the light. I didn't have my contacts in today, and I didn't want to open up a new pair just for the video, so I have the glasses on. Anyways, let's get right to it. Ninefox Gambit by Yoon Lee. I even bought a physical copy of this book. I had it on the ebook, but after I read it, I bought a physical copy because it's pretty and I like it. Ninefox Gambit does something that no other science fiction book has ever done. It makes me actually ignore the parts that I disliked because the rest of it was so good. This is a military science fiction book that, for me, didn't really do the military parts that great. But the hook that holds the entire story together was just fantastic. The hook is that there is a traitorous madman being in the head of an inexperienced new general that must take back a station that has rebelled against their empire, basically. Charis is a disgraced captain of the Hexarchate, an empire with specific class-like factions that need someone to reclaim the Fortress of Scattered Needles from the heretics or rebels. Charis gets an ultimate weapon in the form of the consciousness of a madman who is a genius. He never lost a battle. His name is Jeddo. And he's also a traitor. He's tethered to Charis's mind. The two of them can talk to each other without other people overhearing them. But other people can actually see Jeddo because he is the shadow of Charis. So when people look at her shadow, they see him, which is a very cool idea. And also, like, when she looks in mirrors, she sees him. So it's kind of trippy. Using the strategy of Jeddo, they take a large fleet of ships to try to overtake this fortress before Jeddo makes even Charis go mad. Ooh. That hook is really just amazing. Ninefox Gambit has a high learning curve while reading. So many of the terms are just plain alien to the reader. They definitely were to me. And it took me hundreds of pages to get the context to really piece together everything. Charis and Jeddo have incredible dialogue through this entire book. In fact, I would say that this book is a very dialogue-heavy book because most of the story and most of the reveals happen through the dialogue. I wanted there to be more interpersonal relationships in this book, though, and more detail explaining the military maneuvers and strategy, and more detail when it came to explaining the action. I went through all the emotions while reading this book. Sometimes I hated it, other times I loved it. I would say this ended up being great because of the mystery of Jeddo's past and the working relationship that he has with Charis. And it made me really like this book. I give it a 4 stars. I'm hoping the second book really answers some of the questions that I had in the first book. And I'm also hoping the second book has a little bit more detail when it comes to the action elements. The other book I finished was the WindUp Bird Chronicle by Haruki Murakami. Oh, this was good. This is one of my favorite books of the month. This and Borderline by Michelle Baker were my favorite books of January. The WindUp Bird Chronicle is a great slice of life type of story that embraces the unknown and the dreamlike ideas that Murakami is so popular to deliver a very well-written book that I'll never forget. Toru Akata is an unassuming, unemployed married man that is asked by his wife to find their missing cat in the neighborhood. Through this missing cat, though, Toro meets many interesting and strange people in his life, and then his life gets turned upside down when his wife goes missing. The WindUp Bird Chronicle, like many of Murakami's books, is all about the journey and not the destination. At the very end, very little makes sense as far as the magical realism elements in this, and the reader has to realize that it's all about the individual scenes, the journey, because in the end, the reader has to interpret what everything meant to them. There are so many interludes during this book. There are many sections talking about the Manchurian War during World War II, because Toro meets this ex-soldier that is there to tell his story. This is in the mid-1980s, so a lot of people that were still alive from the World War II, Manchurian War, Korean War, things like that, are still alive. There are occasionally really long stories that these other characters tell Toro, and Toro just listens, and they take up entire chapters. These sections are fascinating, and they really provide a great historical context for the story. Pick up this book when you want a very up-close and personal general fiction book with some magical realism about a man finding his new place in his world. I really enjoyed this. I thought it was written spectacularly, and it was just a fantastic book. I'm really happy about that too, because I tried Sputnik Sweetheart by Murakami, and I took the ending of it in the magical realism things way too serious, and I ended up rating it at like a 2-star. I'm realizing that you just kind of have to go with the flow with Murakami and realize that you're not going to make all the sense of the magical realism things. Enjoy the journey, not the destination. Alright, this coming week I am reading Queen of Sorcery by David Eddings. I started this yesterday, I believe. I'm up to page 131. And this is the second book in the Belgariad series. And it's better written than the first book, and I'm liking it more than the first book. I'm also going to be starting After the Crown. I talked about this last week by KB Wagers. This gunrunner is now the queen of this planet, and now she has to deal with the people that tried to kill her family in the previous book and try to go after those individuals. And I'm looking forward to reading that because the first one, Behind the Throne, was one of my favorite books from last year. And then if I finish the Queen of Sorcery book, I am going to be starting The Silkworm by Robert Galbraith. This is a sequel to The Cuckoo's Calling. I really like The Cuckoo's Calling, so I'm looking forward to reading The Silkworm and getting back into this great world of Cormoran Strike. He's such a great character. He reminds, like, his body type kind of reminds me of my body type. Like, he's a big guy, and I like reading books about, like, big guys that kind of, like, resemble my body type, and that just makes me happy. Alright, so what book am I hyping this week? What new release this week is really good? It's 6 Wakes by Mur Lafferty. I want to read this. Bottom line, I really want to read this. This is a space adventure set on a lone ship where the murdered crew are resurrected through cloning to discover who their killer was and the secret to their mission. So it's very much a mystery science fiction book, and if you know me, I love mystery sci-fi. Very cool. Really looking forward to it. Let's check out some people have already read it. Rachel from The Shades of Orange gave it a 4. Rachel from Kalanadi gave it a 4. Tammy Sparks, a great blogger gave it a 5. So very cool. Chris just finished it, and I'd like to see what he thinks of it, since I have a lot of the same feelings on books that he does. Looking forward to getting this from the library. Delaware library system, get this book. Nobody has it yet. Come on, guys. Kind of struggling a little bit. Okay. I didn't borrow any more library books. I'm trying to finish up the ones that I have. But like I said, I did buy Ninefox Gambit by Yoon Lee. Looking forward to having this in my collection now that it's bought. So let's check out the counter of the books off my shelf that I've read so far this year, and I'm up to 7 out of 100. Yes, I'm doing well. I read 10 books during January. 7 of those are from my shelf, and I'm very happy about that. And I haven't really increased my TBR at all, and that's fantastic. No short story for me this week. The ones I read I didn't really like. Podcasts. Let's check out this podcast that I listened to. I listened to my first episode of the Grim Tidings podcast. Now, this is like 2 guys just hanging out talking about grim dark fantasy, and I thought it was really good. It's like their update episode, and they just kind of talk about what their favorite podcast was of last year. They kind of talk about what their favorite book from last year was, and they're just kind of like these metal, normal guys talking about grimdark fantasy and fantasy in general, which is pretty cool. They talk about the books they're anticipating, and I am probably going to listen to these guys because they're just kind of themselves, and I like that. I really enjoy podcasts, and I enjoy booktubers that are just themselves and are not trying to be anything other than themselves. I'll put a link to that podcast in the description. Also, there are links to my written reviews in the description box below as well. Comic books. Look at how great I'm doing with that thing. Comic books. I read All-Star Superman Volume 1 and Volume 2 by Grant Morrison and art by Frank Quitely. And it was really good. I ended up giving them a 4. What was so interesting about this was the art. The art was way different than anything else I've ever really have read. And that is because there's depth in the art. At times, here's a good scene to try to explain this. As you see in that top panel, it's like the camera is very far away. In the next panel, it gets closer and closer and closer. And then we get a close-up of Superman on the side. And then the camera comes back out again. And a lot of times in this, that happens. And we even get things like this page here, where the dialogue is really small and it's really far away, and they're talking, and you see them walking as they're talking, but you're getting more of a bird's eye view of the scenery. And it was just so interesting because I never read a comic book like that, where it really pulled back and showed you more of the background and more of what was going on than just the forefront, and I really appreciated that. I really liked the art a lot. The stories were good. Some of them are a little bit hit or miss, and I think a lot of the stories were more for veteran Superman readers, but I still really like them, even though I am a rather newish reader for Superman. Alright, let's talk about the movie I went and watched. La La Land was awesome. I loved this movie. Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling were amazing. Their singing, their dancing, their acting was just spot on. It's a love story at heart, but it's a more modern day love story with a lot of the twist and heartache and difficulties you have with modern relationships. When two people have such strong goals in their life and in their future, it's very difficult for them to stay together and to be successful in what they really want to do. And you have to give up different things. And I thought this movie really showcased that really well. The music was fantastic. Piano music, jazz music, it was so good. I love piano music, and that's why I loved this movie so much. The piano music was just beautiful. Everything about this movie is beautiful. The backgrounds, the colors. It uses a lot of primary colors, and so you get a lot of these blues and yellows and reds and greens, and they mix them all into the same scene, and it just looks beautiful, and I love it. It was such a good movie, and I highly recommend it to everybody. As far as television, I am still watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I'm almost done with season 2 now, and I'm just having a lot of fun watching this. Jake and his thing with Amy is a lot of fun, but they don't really like squash it down, or they don't overdo it too much. Terry with his issues and neuroticisms is great. He's just a funny character. My favorite character is probably Captain Holt. I don't know the actor's name, but he plays him so well. It's a very dry character with a great sense of humor. And you got Boyle and Scully and just a great cast of people. Gina is hilarious. And I laugh constantly while watching this show, and that is very rare for me when it comes to a TV show. I laugh at least once out loud while watching that show, and that is rare for me when it comes to a comedy. And during this time in my life, I like to watch sitcoms because it gives me a break from reading, and it gives me a break from the problems in the world as well. And that's my main thing I'm watching now, is sitcoms. I did not get to watch a documentary. This is the third week in a row that I haven't watched a documentary, so I really need to watch one next week because I'm kind of slacking with that. My favorite Booktube video of this week was actually 6 Weeks review by Kalanadi, Rachel. And she did an amazing review for 6 Weeks, really showed what this book was all about and why I would like it, and I thought it was fantastic. Before I go, I would like to say one thing. I know that things are bad right now in the U.S. Oops, I'm trying to hide this. I know things are kind of not looking that great in the U.S. I don't agree with all the things that are going on either. I hope that you guys are taking care of yourselves and doing some self-care type activities. I look at Booktube as a self-care activity. I look at it as sharing my love for books with other people, watching their videos, talking to them on Twitter, on Voxer, and that gives me joy, and that joy really helps me when it comes to issues in my own life and issues in our world today. And I appreciate the people that are still making content and still providing criticism of books and art. So I don't know if I really explained that too well, but I hope you guys are taking care of yourself. My channel here at Come Touch of Fantasy is for everybody. We're talking about my love for books. We're talking about your love for books. And it doesn't matter what race you are, what color your skin is, what political party you represent. I'm here to talk to you about books and to be friends with everybody and talk about books. That is my goal, and just to be myself and, just have a love for books and talk to people about them. So, yeah. I hope things get better, and I'm very happy for people that are out there protesting and standing up for their rights, and I appreciate that. I respect those people very much. Thank you for watching, guys. I will talk to you guys later, and I hope you have a great week. I will talk to you next week, hopefully for a live video next week.